Good evening and late afternoon for those who are joining us tonight. Welcome to Regenesys Business School. This evening we are privileged to have a panel of guest speakers who are going to share with us their experience in the space of human resources management, but more specifically the transformation of this particular field. Tonight the interest is in the pension funds, and something that we all have to take seriously, especially if we are working individuals. So I hope wherever you are, you will be able to have your pen and paper ready to note down your questions so that you can engage with us much later. The session is about an hour and a half. I will give about 15 minutes or so for those questions, and so that your questions can be answered. I have a lot of my questions, but I always take an opportunity to share the learning. So all of you who are online, please remember that this is a series of webinars that we're having. We had a few this week. We've already touched on the ICT space, FMCG, fast-moving goods and products. We also had a wonderful experience of understanding what HR is, or how HR is affected there. So today we're truly, truly privileged to come into a space that has to deal with our livelihood, especially with the money that we put aside for our well-being later in life. Please help me welcome our panel speakers to this evening, so that we can get going. I'm made aware that might be one of the speakers that has been communicated to you is not here yet, but we'll welcome her as soon as she comes through. For now, let's welcome Emeka Dibia, who is the HR leader for ARM Pensions. Please take a seat anywhere, choose your best seat. Thank you very much, welcome. I also have as part of my panel, Oguche Aguda. Thank you. Godwin Akpon. Last but not least, Kennedy Naji. So who am I missing? Olanle Onime. She's on her way, I think. And will be confirmed as soon as she comes in, she will join us. It was not by design that the men will arrive first, or it will be an only men panel. And also, I hope this does not suggest that this pension fund operations are run by men, and because otherwise we might find all our money gone if women are not there. But anyway, let me take this opportunity to welcome my panel members. I would love to go into their CVs and to tell you how well experienced they are, but this is from almost, you have together here almost 50 to 80 years of experience in the space, in managing people and also understanding this business that we're talking about tonight. We also have international experience, graduates from both here in Nigeria and overseas. So wealth of experience from local and abroad. And I think we're privileged to be spending an hour with them to be able to hear what they say about what they would like to tell us about this transformation. We hosted tonight here at Regenesys Business School by Vivian, who's the head of the global head for South Africa, for Nigeria, for a business school that's started in South Africa 25 years ago, and now finds itself in several parts of the world, India, Tanzania, Kenya, now recently opened an office in the US. And the biggest hope is that we can be able to take this knowledge now from Africa to the rest of the world. I think UK, in terms of digital Regenesys, the UK office was opened this week. And it's with the hope that, as I say, that we don't necessarily take knowledge from the West and bring it here, but we can actually take information and knowledge to the West and to the rest of the world. The topic that we're dealing with is close to my heart because of some years ago when we spoke about the future of HR, and we were in this building 10 years ago almost. We did not anticipate that the changes would have been so drastic in the past number of years. With the advent of COVID, those things that we were worried about happened much quicker and faster, and we had to adapt and adjust. And we're doing a dipstick check this evening about what has this sector been, or how has the sector been affected by these changes, and how has the sector survived these changes, and what does the future look like? So this evening, this is the conversation, and I hope you will all join me in engaging and learning, because it's a process of learning. Now, gentlemen, please do me a favor as you introduce yourself, a little bit about yourself so that people get to know your space, your business, your organization. I'm not trying to punt Regenesys only here. At least they get to know what you do, which organizations you're from. And if you want, what is your opening remark on this? The future of human resources in this digital age, with this digitization of everything that we do within HR. What is the view? What is your opening remarks in relation to that? So I'm happy to hear about yourself a little bit and then about this topic. Anyone can start. There's a mic over there and we can pass on the mic.
Yeah. Thank you. Good evening. And thanks for having me. So my name is Okuche Aguda, and I lead the Pension Fund Operators Association of Nigeria, which is typically the umbrella body for pension funds in Nigeria. And what we do is we're the industry association. We work to build the market, and we work to harmonize all the activities of pension funds and to see how we can ensure best practice within the pension industry in Nigeria, to ensure ethical operations, and to engage externally. So whether it's engaging with the regulators, with the media, or with the National Assembly of Financial Markets. So that's what we do. With regards to the topic, I think AI and digital transformation is affecting everything we do, from how we hire, from how we manage talent, from how we also just end-to-end bench strength of the teams. So it's very critical because in the world that we live in virtually everything that we do, technology is central, and HR is no different. So there are many changes, and we need to be ahead of the curve instead of allowing those changes to sweep us. Like you said, during COVID, we didn't have a choice. So if people were thinking they're going to implement their digital strategy, either for their business or HR in 5-10 years time, now we have no choice because it's right there in the face. So very interesting topic. Looking forward to also hearing and learning and sharing experiences. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Depends on where you're watching from, where you're listening from. My name is Kennedy, Kennedy Naji. My current role is the lead HR with Veritas Glambius Pensions. The PFA, with, we are in the industry, and prior to that, I had some time in the bank in consulting, and I'm pleased to be here. And this topic is one that is really front burner for everyone because tech has touched everything as we know it. So if we want to stay relevant, then we have to go on with that tide. We have to see how we would make ourselves relevant and build competencies in that space to be able to also, again, because of the workforce that is coming, this workforce is a workforce that are already conversant with tech, and you can't but just include tech in whatever you are doing. So it's something I'm pleased to be part of, and I'm also open to hearing what my other amiable panelists would say to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Godwin Akpon, and I'm head of human capital, human resources, for Stamic IBTC pension managers. And I think for me, this topic is a very interesting one. Anywhere you go today and talk digital or talk AI, everybody's interested because, of course, AI, digital technology has touched, all facets of life, whether, all industries have been touched. And when you look at human capital and what we do, a lot of things have changed over the years. Things are changing every day. Someone said that technology is moving in a dizzying pace, such that if you blink, you miss something. So I think it's important that you always want to stay ahead of the curve. No one wants to play catch up. And for looking at the business, if you're looking at the pension fund industry, where I work, where we work, you know that at the end of the day, and that's what digital technology really is about. It's about the customers. We won't be in business, there won't be any pensions if there are no customers. So at the end of the day, you want to bring up solutions that are defined by digital technology. You want to be ahead of the curve and help the customers, always get the best solutions. So I think, like for every other person here, I would like to, share and also learn from everyone. So, like I said, most importantly, is to stay ahead of the curve, ensure that with respect to digital, we're always at the cutting edge and not play catch up. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Emeka Dibia is my name. Human resource professional, worked in various industries in financial services, pension, insurance. This topic is quite interesting. My passion is in the area of workplace transformation and innovation culture. And I think that, the digital transformation, particularly in the HR space, I think is a bit, I feel it's a long overdue. I think, as you had mentioned earlier on, I think it quickened the pace with the pandemic. Suddenly, I think businesses realize that all the time, HR managers like ourselves have been talking about putting in place technology. Suddenly, I think the pandemic made everybody realize that, there was a need to really take the human resource beyond the transactional phase to probably to a more strategic level. So hopefully we can have an interesting discourse about it today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for those introductory remarks. Can I maybe we'll keep it as informal as we can, and if you want to be able to do a comeback, or the mic can move around if you feel that the point has not been emphasized or a different point needs to be raised. What I'd like us to do is to give a sense of the context within which pension funds find themselves right now. Because it's okay to talk about HR and demands and hire more people, the unemployment rate and what is your contribution to the world and all of those. If we don't understand that context, HR would not necessarily, or is not going to give us, or discussing HR would be much more internal as a veteran, first looking at what is our context. So maybe you can bring it back to here, because you have with the funds. I mean, you have the PENOP, right? So we have, as an association, I'm sure you have that. That's kind of you're seeing things more than one just pension fund. So what is the status like? Struggling, doing well? And what does the future look like for this industry?
Yes, sure. I think the context is very competitive, right, as you would expect for financial services. And because of a recent phenomenon, which is the transfer window, which means that retirement savings contributors can decide to move from one pension fund to the other. So that means that there is a war for customers, right? So with a war for customers means a war for talent, right? Whether talent to be able to ensure that you're managing the pension fund well, returns is very key, or talent for sales to ensure that you're acquiring customers. So that's the sort of backdrop at which the industry is right now. There's a war for customers, there's a war for talent. There's also a race for digital transformation and how you serve the customers, because as we grow, currently we have roughly about 10 million customers, but as those customers begin to grow and those customers are savvy, they demand service, they demand faster turnaround time, they demand personalized services. They want to know about what their balance, they want to speak to someone. My mom, she's a pensioner. She was calling me today because her pension fund sent her a form. She wanted to fill it, so she was asking me, what does this mean? So when it comes to money, people are very touchy. So they want to be able to engage the customers. They're a pension fund administrator. So that's the backdrop. It is competitive, war for customers, war for talent, digital transformation, and high regulatory environment. So the regulator is coming out with new regulations. So compliance is very high. So that's the sense in which the industry operates.
Okay, anyone wants to add context that we're dealing with, or is that okay? Captured?
Right, thank you. Yeah, so again, coming into the pensions industry, I want take off from where he left off talking about the regulation. Maybe permit me to say, because coming from insurance to consulting to banking and now to pensions, I can say that pensions is truly heavily regulated. My time in the bank, almost for it, I'm not sure, my within 1 year in pensions now, I saw as much as I did, when I was in the bank with what Pencom is doing and the constant, deliberate, consistent interaction with PenOps. I get to receive mails from PenOp every now and again. They're just, keeping the PFAs abreast with what is going on. Pension is always there, coming to do audit, inspection, just to ensure that things are in place, because these are people's fund, right? And like he said, if you want to put your money somewhere, you want to put it somewhere that you are certain that within a space of time, when you need that, when time arises for you to have access to that, then you can. You should be able to have access to that. And then that's when we see PFAs now looking for talent. And the effect of the transfer window that you just pointed out is something that it's more like having bank accounts, but now I can move my bank account from here to here. Right. So now we have customers who are deliberate about, okay, if I'm moving to this PFA, what's different? What's different? What are you bringing? What's your customer service? What are you doing? So this now entails how the industry, how the talent, you ensure that you have the right talent to win those customers, and not just to win them, but also to retain them. So it's very important for us to have that. Thank you.
Wow. So I was happy to hear from Oguchi when you said when your mom called, she wanted to speak to someone and not a robot. Maybe she's complaining that when I make this call, I just get this, response that's coded, and I don't understand. I keep asking this, but I get the same answer. So there's still humans behind this phone call that has to happen so that the person can inquire about their and their pensions. I'll come back to, because this window that you're talking about seems to be a very critical thing. It's probably shifting the industry quite significantly. So Akbong, you have had this experience. You've been in the field. If you can make sort of give us a sense of the transformation from your traditional HR to what you see now as the HR within the AI space. What have you seen so far? How do you describe it to anyone, let's say to a group of young people who want to understand, how did you get here? If you can just look that a little bit.
All right, so I would say that it's been very interesting. So coming from what you call it, the traditional HR. So I started HR so I was in learning and development. And I can recall, when we started, how all our training programs, for example, were physical training programs. So we used to travel to Port Harcourt, travel across the country, and we would print loads and loads of paper. We'll carry our projector, to all these different locations, to where, you can be in one location and, train as many people as you can. That's just one, out of so many things that have changed within the, HR space. You receive close to 30,000 applications, for example, for a graduate trainee program. How do you begin to go through all those applications and you just want to probably hire 40 or 50 or maybe 100 and you have 20,000, 30,000 applications? So digital transformation has changed so many things within the HR space. And from my own experience, it has enhanced our work. When people hear digital transformation, most times people are worried. The fear of some people, you will lose your jobs and things like that. Robots and technology will take your jobs. I think for me, it's the fact that people need to upskill, people need to reskill, and just be adaptable to the change. So if you know how to use, so it's the same us in the HR world, did the work before, that have learned to do the work with digital technology now. So coming from the world of doing most things physical, manual, and all that, to where you can enhance both the experience of the employees or the candidates who you are hiring. You can improve your decision making, in a few seconds. So you have an application, for example, where you want to select, you have the criteria. Let them, you just give them a link, they complete, they put their CVs, and you have, an AI system of sort of helps you prune down those numbers, from maybe 20,000 to your first 1,000, and then you can then look at it again using another system. So it's so many ways that our jobs have been enhanced. I talked about learning, where you have to travel all over the place before, to where your content can be uploaded and people can take those learning even on the go. So it's a lot of transformation. If I bring it just before I give you the mic, down to what's happening in the industry, which I mentioned, regulation. You also had mentioned regulation. You talked about the transfer window as well. So from a HR perspective, because of the new dynamics within the business, you then need to think about the kind of talent that will help you win this war that he talked about. So there's a lot of work on the HR part to again look at, how do I source for this talent? So again, digital technology has a role to play in that, even with the way you train the people to, to adapt to the new market. Let me put it that way, to the new competition that we have. There are different solutions that also help us do that. So at the end of the day, from a human capital point of view, you want to be able to enable the business meet their overall objectives at the end of the day, which is to win this market. So we must constantly think about how we can use digital technology to help us achieve that objective.
Okay. Thank you very much. Imeka, you're the digital transformation specialist. You go into these organizations, and over past 18 years, that's been part of your passion, just to bring that innovation in that space. Which areas do you think, especially in the sector, have transformed much more quickly and more effectively? And I mean, we'll come back to training. We've heard about training, but I'm thinking about, from this process of acquisition of that talent, the selection process we've had already, that now we can get numbers quicker, we can trickle down the numbers and not be bothered about how many CVs we receive. So what has been your experience in terms of which areas of HR have taken up the AI space quicker?
Okay, thank you for that question. I think for me, when it comes to digital transformation, I think there's a kind of paradigm shift in terms of the work HR is doing or supposed to be doing. So in the traditional sense, most people look at HR's role as very transactional. And I know there's been a lot of talk about HR being a bit more strategic and so on and so forth. But the issues have always been, how do you become strategic? You can only become strategic when you know that the operational aspect of your work is as efficient as it can be. And I think that is where, the digital transformation aspect is coming into. If you ask me what has been the biggest challenge, I think it's a people thing. It's not really the technology. And when I say the people aspect, it's having to change the mindset about the technology, because human beings are very difficult to change. We're set in our ways. We like doing things in a particular way. And I think there was one of my colleagues here mentioned that the fear that this technology will take our jobs, but I do not believe that AI or any of the technologies are there to take anybody's job. I think what they have done is those manual, repetitive kind of jobs that we're so used to doing, they've been able to take that away and give us the opportunity to focus on more strategic, type work. So coming to your question about what...
And I'd love to hear some examples there as you do that. Because people sometimes they say, well, we're telling them theory here. What has changed? Because HR is still putting a stamp and pushing paper.
There is a lot. I mean, if you have to look at the work HR does, it's typically centered around the employee journey, from the period the employee comes in to the organization to the time they leave. So when you talk about entry, that's where he mentioned a lot of recruitment. And what do companies do? If you happen to be in an industry where, okay, first of all, in Nigeria, we have a lot of graduates who graduate every year. So we do have a lot of them. In fact, I think we have a lot of supply compared to, demand, but people will think it's the other way around. So there is a lot of people coming in. The challenge organizations have is the people with the right competence to come into their own organization. So when you have technology in place from a recruitment perspective, what it means is that I do not necessarily have to hire a lot of people to sit in the recruitment space. Robotic process automation, for instance, solves a lot of those problems for me. So what it means is the technology is such that from posting jobs to, collecting the applications, reviewing it, ensuring they meet your needs, and then passing it on to a report, all those things are automated. And what you now find out is that if you have an HR department where a lot of your team members are focused on doing that, what you've done is that you free up those resources to do more value-added jobs. RPAs can do a lot of things. You have, apart from recruitment, learning and development, you talked about training as well. The work around scheduling, scheduling training, inviting people, even linking it up with LMS, for instance. I mean, a lot of those things are things that traditionally HR will have to hire bodies to do those jobs. But now what you have is, a technology that can run 24/7, does not go on leave. You don't have to pay overtime. So that's it. So what it means is that the only way you survive is that you have to adapt. You have to look at how you have to build the required competence and the skill to use that technology to be more efficient. And I think that's
so the power of using that technology is with humans, right? As I say. Okay, let's welcome Bolani Onime from Lidway. Welcome, ma'am. So, just you wanted to add something. The one of the things as you raised as you do that he raised one of the challenges is being mindset, and I know that you're now also going to add to that part of the chain, but could you also address whether this mindset is the mindset of the leaders in the business? Because maybe HR people say, but this is what we need, and of course we can do this quicker. But are the business owners understanding of this? And are they supportive of this change?
Thank you very much. So I think you've asked the question, you've touched on what some of the things I wanted to say. And he was very clear with the point when he said that it's really about people. I mentioned before that when we say digital transformation or we talk technology, sometimes, like you rightly said, the focus is on the hard part, is on AI, is on some tools and things like that. But really, it's about people. So the people to even think about these tools, to think about the implementation, it's really about people. So the first thing I think is to help the organization. That's where human resources. That's when HR comes in to help the organization build that consistent language and tone around digital adoption. So that there's a baseline knowledge around what this transformation is all about. Because the truth is, sometimes when people hear transformation, they hear digital, depending on where they sit in the organization. Some people think it's not their problem. Maybe they think it's some IT stuff, or maybe it belongs to the leaders. But every single person in the organization must think digital. Every single person in the organization must have that future readiness awareness. And I think so. Now it might sound like theory, like, oh, how do you make this? What really is this thing that you're talking about? But I think that's where it starts from, because digital transformation is about providing solution. It's not really about the technology or the AI. It's about providing solutions, about solving a problem. Most financial organizations there's some digital technology that it's not useful. People will use it no matter how. Most financial organizations have, I think, what you call a virtual assistant. Some have human beings, some have names. Say, I can help you. How many of us have used those things? It's digital, it's revolutionary, but to people, he talked about the mom, calling to want to see someone. So it's about providing a solution. So we must meet people at their point of need. So for HR, and so you asked the question about the business. Of course, the business wants to drive digital transformation. The business wants, because that everyone knows that bringing digital into your system, into your business will help you, gain that advantage. But the challenge really sometimes is around how to implement this. We start from the point of view. So even from a leadership point of view, we must build leaders that can drive that transformation. So the leaders too must be able to lead people in a future-ready way. So for example, leaders must be open to diversity. There's nothing like this, that the type of people I want to work with or I cannot work with. You must be able to accommodate all kinds. So your most important focus should be the talents that they bring into whether they they are aligned to this or that. It doesn't matter in the workplace again. So that's the kind of leader you want to build first. This aspect is part of digital transformation. There's nothing hard in it. There's no technology here. There's no tool. It's a mindset. So even that's why I said it's across all employees. So the man who is sitting somewhere, I don't want to think of any role that is not digital, must understand that his job is to provide solutions. He should be able to question things. He should be adaptive. So if they wake up tomorrow and say, okay, everybody go learn this thing, he should be ready to do this. So that's the mindset that we want to build.
Okay, thank you so much. Maybe let's go back to, again, those fundamentals and start again, and then we can go into those different elements within HR that see the transformation that is taking place within the sector, from onboarding and all of those. But let me get to the regulation. I think Kennedy and Richard, you raised the regulatory framework. Is there transformation there in terms of AI? Is AI helping you? Because regulation can be very difficult, can be complex, and can be cumbersome. Right? Is there transformation in that space? So I'm now starting from policy. You can hear, I want to come back to training, I want to come back to talent management, acquisition management, and performance, and even training. But let's start with this policy framework. Is there transformation that's happening at that level, or is it still very much archaic?
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, for me, it would be that the regulation or the regulators really, they're about the process, what needs to be done, things you need to check out for, things the what is to be done. So it's now the individual organizations that would now have to take that regulation and then find out how they can apply that, right? So if you think that, okay, the regulator has said you need to do this, is there a tool? Is there a technology that can help me do it? The regulator will not tell you what to use or the technology to use. They would give you what you need to do. They give you a framework and say, this is the process. For benefit administration, this is how you need to go about it. For operations, this is how you need to go about it. But then we come back as the players in the industry to now determine how do we do this without having to be out of alignment.
Yeah, contradict.
Yes, from what the regulator has put out there. So ensuring that whatever tool or whatever technology you decide to adopt should be able to meet the requirements that the regulator has specified for you to meet. Okay, that's the area I want.
So if you go back to that to the story of the movement now, the new right. So the industry and the different companies would then say this is the best way to go around it, and therefore you will deploy your best AI tools to get to the best customers, as you said, right? And the best, so that's how it is. But in terms of regulation itself, it basically says this is the rule.
Yes.
Make sure that people are able to move as they want. And those who want 25% of whatever at this point, you must make sure that they get it as quickly, because they're going to move and go somewhere else. They can move their money. So you want to give them the best of service, but using your AI tools that allows you to do so. Is that a fair understanding? So regulation is not an issue right now. It's almost like it's just an enabler, like now technology is in this regard. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. I also see it from the perspective where, of course, like I earlier stated, the regular engagement, especially so we have the understanding that the regulators are also mindful of the RSA holders, right? They also have that in perspective. So whatever they are going to put out in terms of regulation now also is having the understanding that this process should be able to keep, maintain, grow, for example, in terms of maybe from the investment arm, what the contributions that are being made, such that when these people need the money, like you said, maybe 25% or whatever form of benefit administration you want to use, depending on where they are, they can get that. So that's the angle from where the regulator comes. Yes. So those technologies now help you efficiently execute that.
Okay, yeah. So let's welcome Bolanle Enemy from Leadway. They're saying we've heard how the industry is okay. It's not dipping along. It has a lot of supply of young people who want to come in with degrees, but you can't absorb all of them. Okay, but you're also fighting for there's a war for customers and war for talent. So share with us at Leadway, how do you get the best talent, and how does AI use you to sort of help you to get the best talent, and maybe what are your competitors doing that you think we should also know about? I'm asking for secrets now.
I have my competitors here. Good evening, everyone, and I'd like to apologize for coming late. Work exigencies. I'm so sorry. Okay, so let me take it from where it stopped. We shouldn't look at regulators as if all they want is to just use the hammer to hit us. If you look at pension, okay, so when I first joined Leadway Pension, I've worked with various regulators. I've worked with NICOM, I've worked with SEC, I've worked with CBN, and income is a different ballgame entirely. But the first thing I had to do is to understand why they are the way they are. They are no choose, if I can use that word, for income. No, they don't give room for any errors. And I think I should also be happy to comply, because at retirement, when the strength is no longer there, and I've struggled, I've put aside part of my money, my earnings, and now we encourage people to do additional voluntary contribution. So what happens to your money at the end of the day? The other time the minister made an announcement and said something about federal government borrowing money, I was talking to some clients to bring their money. And you see, my phone was just ringing. Oh, so government is taking our money. So what's the point? Let me use my money for something else. Oh, how can I withdraw part of my money? That's okay. Thankfully enough, there are regulations that you can't access your funds except there's been job loss for a number of months. And the other 25% is for mortgage purpose, which there are also other processes. We'll see. But then, why are the regulators there? Don't overstep your boundaries. Any moment they feel that there's a threat to contributors' funds, that's when they come to you. And that's what they're all about. But when it comes to how to use AI to carry out your duties and responsibilities and achieve your purpose as an organization, that's left to you. But where you're going to the core of the business, maybe when it comes to asset management or investment and all, that's where you need to go to them. Ask them. I think they are open. And anytime there are issues, I have somebody seated on my right here that you can use as what would I call him? As a voice into Pencom that, oh, this is it. And by the time everybody comes that, oh, Pencom is coming up with this regulation, we don't think it's right. Once everybody agrees, all PFAs and even maybe PFCs, once they agree, they can always go to Pencom. And that way, they gain audience with them, and it's superior arguments. I want to believe so. And once you can convince them, this is the reason why you can't. Okay, so on how at Leadway Pension we use AI to do what we need to do. So, well, when it comes to recruitment, how do we simplify recruitment? Number one is we have our people specifics. We have our roles outlined. Then we once you have your role properly defined, then you get people that would fit that role perfectly. So you don't just go out there pick anyone. Yes, there are instances where you need to enhance. Maybe, oh, this person is a performer in the PFA. We want him, we want her. That is a different ball game entirely. You look for how to gain audience with a person. So there are different aspects where you're headhunting, that's different. Then where maybe you have a role and you want to put it out there. I think, well, if you use LinkedIn, most likely you get the best of talents, professionals, but definitely you have your internal processes. So once you have the process, it depends if you use it depends on if you have an app that you use for your recruitment. So I had I more like consulted for someone some time ago, and he built an app, and it starts to finish recruitment. From you submit your CV, all the parameters of what they want has been indicated. So if you don't click, your CV don't move to the next level. It saves a whole lot of headache. Fantastic software. So once you're able to tick, they know what they want. 5 to 10 years. Once it doesn't fit into that, you're out. Then if it fits into that, what's your expected salary band? You're out. If professional qualification is important, if you don't fit into that, you're out. If you've worked in a PFA before, is a requirement for them. If you don't fit in, you're out. All this is done with the use of AI. So that way it saves them. And from when they have, yes, it's tough because, for you to get a candidate, it means anyone you speak with, except maybe your salary. But then the person would have also fit into your salary band. So anyone you speak with at that point, then you are as good as have a candidate to come in as a staff. So that is using AI.
Is that giving you talent, or will that give you just?
It will give talent. Okay, so let me cite another example before I go back to what I was saying. I have a friend who relocated to Canada, and this is someone that has about 30 years experience in Nigeria, and he's been in Canada like a year, 6 months now. He's not been able to get a job. He didn't realize until about 6 months ago that his CV, after it was analyzed using AI, it fit in only 28% into any work he could want to do in Canada because of the way his CV is written. So if you have you have the applicant tracking system. So most times when you have your ATS, you would have set all your parameters into your ATS. Organizations that use ATS, they don't bother themselves about whether, and I'm sure they use talent because if you look at the likes of KPMG, all the big fours, I'm sure I can bet it with you they use ATS. So would we say they have talent? Of course they have talent. So but then you need to be ready as an organization to get your talent through the use of an ATS, and ATS is even hard.
Okay, so maybe later on when you pass on the mic to the other side, we will ask about those young people who now want to enter this industry because they might not necessarily fit this. They just graduated. They're trying to get experience, and we're trying to get them into the sector. We probably have to develop them and build them, and make sure that they then fit this and they become real talent in future.
I said something about your role specific. You have your role that you want to fill, then you have who can fit into that role. If I'm looking for a graduate role, I would not put 5 years experience. So even not for this JAPA syndrome that we are now, some organizations that would not even go near a 2-2, second class lower, would now. So once I set my second class lower, then I have my courses that you would have graduated with. Have you gone through NYC and all that? So it depends, whatever role you want. Once you just plug it in.
Yeah.
So irrespective, even if it's 20 years, if it's HOD, even if it's empty that you need, it's just to use and plug in your parameters. What do I need? What should you look for? And that's it.
And I guess it's your standards, you would set the standards and the parameters. That's what's important from a human interactive perspective. Right? Okay. So which are from and even so from then up, we spoke regulation. There's an issue about transparency, I think, in this industry, right? I mean, I don't know if AI is helping. I hear a lot of people talk. Blockchain is, I don't know how many people understand it, but are you guys using it? Where are we with those kind of measures of transparency within the sector and how we get to that level? Is the technology that we're using right now creating that level of transparency?
Yeah, I think maybe I'll just jump from the regulatory question to say that typically operators are ahead of the regulator in terms of whether technology or innovation. And that's standard everywhere in the world and in most industries. So the regulators are sort of behind them. They always play catch up. But like I think as he said, when the regulator gives a directive, it's now up to the pension funds to try and find out how within their system using technology to be able to meet those directives, whether in terms of how often they send their reports, whether in terms of how transparent they are. But I think maybe we need to get to an end-to-end process, and we're not there yet. We're getting there, such that the regulator at the touch of a button can be able to see what is happening. Right now, we send daily reports. The pension fund send daily reports to the regulator in terms of their fund, their investment. Like you said, there's a reason for that, because it's your last card. Some people call it your last card, meaning that's what you're going to use when you retire. So the regulator has to be very hawkish on what the pension funds are doing, because we don't want to get to the point where people retire, they don't get their money. So in terms of transparency, I think for where we are fine. But as customers demand more, and just to get to the point of my mom, who's 70 plus, and maybe my cousin who's 20 plus, the way they interact is different. My mom is okay with someone telling her over the phone, this is it. But a 20-year-old person, whether it's a Gen Z or Gen Alpha, they're demanding more. They demand more transparency. They want to see how the funds are invested. Some of them even want to determine how their funds are invested, right? And that's a conversation we'll have to get to. We're not there yet, but we will get there, where people want to see how their funds are invested, where it's invested. So we're not there yet. But I think as we've seen globally, and as people begin to demand that much transparency, and perhaps we need to begin to have those conversations now.
Yeah. I'm happy you say that, because of the, when I also started in it, my sort of pension fund, I didn't care. I just put the money because somebody told me it's good for you. And when you grow older, you will need this someday. So I did that. But we told this young generation that we're talking about today, that we're referring to, we'd want to know whether even the fund is investing in something energy space. What are we, climate friendly? Are we green, or are we not green? Right? and therefore we can't hide anymore. And therefore AI, or these tools, AI tools, are supposed to get us to a point where we can be as transparent as we can be, but also then be relevant, because then the funds are not just going to behave. And then we then say, oh, it is an Enron scandal, or it was this other scandal, and we didn't see it coming. Right? Because the customer is watching in this regard. So I'm happy you raised that, because of that. That's a level of awareness that we require, but also for the funds to be accountable to those who they pick up their monies from. Can I go back? You did the talent acquisition. What's happening within the organizations now around training and development? How has AI tools helped you? And is it still as traditional? Maybe we can give how is the training taking place? Has it significantly changed? And are we still struggling with people who say, well, this hybrid thing after COVID is not working? The platforms that are being given, people say we want it individualized. In this sector, what's going on? Give us insight. Any one of you can also come there. In the training space, how are you training people? How are they finding the training? How do they want to be trained? If they want to be trained, these are your stuff now.
Okay, thank you. I think after the pandemic, I think a lot of companies started leveraging a lot more their learning management systems, because of the fact that we suddenly had the hybrid work. So apart from the fact that having to bring all your employees into one room is no longer cost effective, but you also needed to ensure that the way you develop your employees was aligned to the new way of work within the businesses. And I think not everyone, but a lot of companies, and also within the pension space, started exploring, how technology could help, make that development a lot more better. But the technology in our part of the world is expensive, and there is the need to develop even the HR professionals to effectively know how to use these tools, because once you have that know-how, then yes, it's easy to pass on the knowledge to the other employees within the business itself. So learning and development, if you look at technology, it's really, I feel that a lot of the work is still centered around the training administration aspect, and not necessarily in terms of, when you talk about the training implementation where you are actually, skills acquisition. I do hear a lot of things around gamification, using VR, AR, but again, those technologies are still evolving. Cost of acquisition is very high. So I have to be realistic. I can't go to my CEO and say, when I know that the cost of one VR headset is worth millions, and I have a workforce of 500 people, how am I going to be able to? And even if I bought a couple of them, let's say I bought 10 or 20 or something, again, how many of us have the competence to develop the curriculum to fit into those type of technologies for it to be effective? So there is still quite a long way to go. And even in the developed parts of the world, they're still also struggling to adapt some of these technologies in terms of, how you use them, use cases for this type of technologies, especially within the learning and development space. So we are not there yet. I have to be very frank, we are not. But the truth is that not many companies are there yet in different parts of the world. Maybe Regenesys will probably, if you have a VR lab, maybe you can, if you let us know, maybe many of us can work with you, develop the curriculum, people can come and, wear the headset and take the classes. But I do know that there are even instances where, for instance, even when I wear the headset, I don't have a very good eyesight, so I can't wear my glasses with it. So, you also have to ask, how effective is this? So there is a lot of things.
Okay, and for wants to add, it would also be interesting to know how, if they take up the training, has things changed in any way? Are people tolerating the 2 days in class or 5 days? With advent of this technology, how are things changing just in the training space?
Thank you very much. So, of course, people still want to go to classroom trainings. Have not disappeared. Classroom trainings, they still have their place in learning. But if you look at it, how do we learn really? If I want to learn to prepare maybe a particular type of soup, for example, how would I learn to do that? And why would I be learning to do that if I really do not want to prepare the soup? So learning most of the time is just in time. What I mean is, if I want to learn to prepare a particular type of soup, what anybody probably here will do is go to YouTube, and you will learn there and you prepare the soup. So you are learning just in time. That's what I'm saying. So, and that's what we need to bring into the organization. We need to get people to understand that. So I'll give you a typical example. If I'm working on a worksheet and I don't know how to VLOOKUP, I have different things I'm looking at, I do not need to have attended an Excel training for 3 days to VLOOKUP. What I need is to VLOOKUP is the same thing. What I need is to prepare this type of soup now. So and I can learn to, if the organization has provided a tool where I can go and in 10 minutes, it shows me, in fact, you don't need it to live. The organization allows YouTube. You can watch to VLOOKUP and know it forever in 10 minutes. But what we do most times is if you put someone in an Excel training for 3 days, he would learn a lot of things he probably would not use, and he will forget them. So I remember a long time ago when I just joined the organization, my job used to involve doing what's that thing? When you want to send a mail to so many people and you prepare just mail merge. So I used to do it a long time, and when I left that role, of course, I didn't even remember what. So there was a day I needed to do a mail merge. I needed to send. It was actually a CIBN training program. So I needed to send them CIBN specific password and username for them to do a particular training program, and I just did not remember. And it was in the evening. I had only one person in the office. What I simply did that day, because my other colleague would not even remember how to do it, I went to system which we have, and then I put mail merge there. So you must provide the tool that one is easily accessible. It has the features of things like YouTube. You don't have to be searching. If you search, it will bring up. If you say, I want to see video, I want to read, I want the one that is between 5 to 10 minutes, just like YouTube. So those are the type of tools that will help transform learning in any organization. It's good to meet those simple needs and make it very easy, like you're using YouTube. So that's a typical example.
Okay, so what are the skill sets? Maybe Kennedy and Bolanle can address this one also. If we just focus on the HR now, the HR people within the sector, within the pension sector, what skill sets do you think they require now to actually meet this particular needs and where we are? Are you focusing on any particular skill sets in your own organizations? And broadly, if you're to advise people, because people are saying, well, you don't need to do HR in it, go study HR anymore. But is that true?
I believe that there is a body of knowledge for every sector, right? And for you to be efficient and effective in that sector, you need to have that baseline knowledge. Of course, I didn't study human resources, right? But after school, it became something I knew that I was going to do. So I had to go and learn, right? So, like I usually tell people, education and schooling are two different things, right? So you would educate yourself for something. The competency I would say, or competencies I would say that we need to develop as HR practitioners or professionals. Because of the time that we live in, number one has to be process of automation. You have to be able to understand there's digitalization and there's digitization. So you need to be able to understand when you are just converting a manual process to an automated process, different from when you are automating something. When the technology is running, he talked about, I don't know which of my colleague talked about some, but when you get to these tools already do the analysis basically. So once you feed in your parameters and all of that, you can see the analysis. What you then need at that point is interpretation. You need to be able to, with that analysis, make a decision, interpret what you are seeing before you. And there are different types of analysis as we have it. But you need this with those pictures you are seeing in front of you, or whatever type of graph they are, or whatever is being written out. You need to be able to interpret that, make that meaningful to you in line with what the business intends to achieve, and make a decision. So that process of data analysis and interpretation, design thinking, as you have it as one of your courses here, automation, digitalization. We need to change management is also something that is important, because we've talked about mindset here, and you cannot implement a change if the mindset is not right, and you need to take people through a process of change management, because people would most likely fight back. Everybody wants to feel okay where they are. Once they see something new, they are already thinking, what is this going to do? So that change management process is important, helping them see that this is not anything different. It's maybe for efficiency, for effectiveness, or the process is still the same thing, but we are trying to see how we can do something better. So these are the few skills I think, or competencies I think, that are important at this time that we need to develop.
Okay, so when you talk about what you need to know, then when in the learning and development, you usually have the training needs assessment done. I had a colleague some time ago. She said she wanted to go for data analytics training, and the question I asked her is, "Why do you want to go for data analytics training? You don't analyze data." So if you need to train yourself, let me know why. Then I, as a supervisor, will tell you what I feel you need right now, based on where you are in your career trajectory and based on what you do currently. If I were to pay the money from my pocket right now, I would not send you on data analytics training. So usually when you do your appraisals, supervisors would highlight what training each person needs. You start from there. There are some trainings that because I want it, because I love it, because I need it. Okay, so I had my first master's, a long time ago. It's HR related. Now I decided to do an MBA. And the first critic was my husband. What are you doing with MBA? I told him I'm interested in MBA. Now I'm rounding up on MBA. I said, I want to do DPA. And the guy looked at me. Are you okay? I said, no. Just leave me. This is what I want. Then yesterday we were talking. I said, okay, there was a training on corporate governance. And I said, I think I need to do diploma in law. And I said, I've given up on you. But it's because there's something playing in my head that I feel there's a stage you will get to in your career. You know what you want to see something that irks you. That's like, I wish I could say more. When my opinion is asked, I don't want to talk maybe because of what I've read, but because I have an understanding. And sometimes some discussions would come up. I know what interests me. I struggled with mathematics all my life. So if anybody would say I would do an MBA, they would look at me twice and say, no, are you sure she's the one? But along the line, in the course of my career, challenges came. I faced it. I fought it. I love it now. So, what stage are you? Learning you want to get. Why are you getting it? What do you need to use it for? Is it just to? There's a question I always ask. Is it just to tick the box or because you want to add value? So that's where I look at it from. Then as HR, we talk about AI. All of us are shy. One of the places I worked, I know they have HR software. I got there. A lot of things were still being done manually. And sometimes when they need to get things done, they call IT. And the first question I ask is why? Do you have a problem using this software yourself? They say, IT didn't teach us. I said, oh, okay. If that's the case, let's go. And we went to the ED in charge of HR and I told her, this is what we need. Training. Okay, they organized the training. And before we're done, even IT themselves they had a breather. Because now we do everything ourselves. This is where ERP is concerned. Anything HR, we get to do it ourselves. Why? Because we challenge ourselves. We got tired of doing things manually. We got tired of wasting time. HR churns out a lot of data day in, day out. Then why would I need to call you? So if IT is busy working on somebody's laptop or something, I'll have to wait. When I have my own deadline of people breathing down my neck. So yes, what is your work exigency? That's where I pick training from. Exactly. And I get value. Bottom line is affected positively. Let me quickly add something before I pass it to my colleagues. There's a problem. Well, I won't say problem. There's a challenge with HR practitioners. We're shy when it comes to data. We're shy when it comes to, and I won't blame me because the way we have different generations in the workplace now, and the way you would look at the Gen Zs and the Gen Alpha is not the same way. Now my children do coding in school. I didn't do coding. In fact, even now, I just wonder what are they doing when you look at all those lines. but it depends on your interest. So we need to put this into consideration, that what generations do we have in the workplace and how do you raise their interest, And sometimes one of my colleagues talked about when you need to bring in a change, when you talk about change management, how do you manage it before people will think, oh, AI is taking my job. But then it's to make life easy for you, because even if you want to use it, if it is there, you don't know how to do it, you will still keep doing the manual work and you still be killing yourself when the software, everything that you need to get the job done. So AI makes life easy, but you also need to have an understanding of how to use it and what you want to get out of it to use it. It might be there and it's a waste. Exactly. Because we have strategic things. Because if you don't use AI, usually it's the operational things that you automate. So once that is automated, it will click on buttons, you get what you need, especially reporting. That's one area I'm always fighting with the HR, the software developers report. That's one area I'm always fighting them over. This is how I want my report, get it done for me. Then I can spend, like, yeah, if I don't have something doing, I'll still be battling with mouse and laptop.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we still have a way to go as a country generally, even just in terms of AI. There's data privacy, things like impersonation and all of that. So those things are still what we're battling with in Nigeria. There's unique identity. So for us as an industry, we're trying to at least fix the basic, which is unique identity. Ensuring that everyone that has a business account has a unique identity. When I realized, for instance, in Nigeria, northern part of Nigeria, you could be in a room and you could say Suleiman Abubakar, and 5 people will come because it's or Mohammed Idris, and 10 people will come. So that is an issue that from a base level we're trying to solve, so that everyone has a unique ID. So that's very critical, and I think that is what other things will ride upon. So for us, it's a critical project. We're trying to work as an industry, ensuring that everyone's data is unique, is captured, and with any of the pension funds, when they go to their system and they get their customers, they can easily check and show that that's the right person, so you don't pay the wrong person, right? So I think that's the base, and that's what we're battling with. So I don't think we've got into the AI governance, and like he said, it's really the operator specific. So operators, because typically they are ahead of the regulators, they will internally try to make sure that those governance is in place. However, from the regulatory point of view, there's regulation on cybersecurity, data privacy. So those are the things where we're battling on layer AI on top. I think.
Let me move on to, if you can, Kennedy, employee engagement, AI and employee engagement. How are we doing there? And by the way, now for all of you who are in the room, in the next 2 minutes, I'll ask you, do you have any questions? I may have not covered your key question. And for those online, I'll leave the last 15 minutes for your engagement with the panel. I think I've dominated them for too long.
Thank you. But please permit me to go back a bit. I really want to touch on the competencies needed, because I want to come from the perspective where that there are different levels of leadership or hierarchy in an organization. And speaking specifically of HR professionals, there's the entry level, there's the mid level, right now at these different levels, there are obviously different competencies that are needed. Right. So, like she said, where you are at a certain point in time would help you define what competency you need per time. And then you go looking for that competency because of the level that you are in. And as you go higher, then you tend to come out of the technicalities and now start to focus on the business and strategy, as it were. And then with the technology thing, one thing that I found out 2018 or thereabout, when I was still in tech, I know, okay, that's for the governor, but with the technology, I found out that there is always a handshake between the tech, the software, and the human, right? So there's been times where the tech is working, but the human has not, the person has not understood the process of the technology. So there is always going to be an issue. Or, like she said, there is a result you want, and the system is not giving you that. So you need to speak to maybe the vendor, the programmer, to design that thing for you, because there is a reason why you want that specific result. There is an outcome you are looking for in terms of your data analysis and presentation now. So you want to be able to have this particular data set that speaks to something. So it's either the system would have to be tweaked to help you achieve something, or the individual, or sometimes it's both of them. And then when we come to governance, I saw that when I was in fintech, where when they started this crypto thing and all of that, Bitcoin, Ethereum, blockchain, I knew then central bank now started to do something about digital currency, e-naira, all of that. They had to constitute a body, because, like I said, there's a body of knowledge for everything. So the regulators would need to know that, okay, how do I come into AI? If I'm not aware of it, if I don't have the knowledge about it, I need to have people who are knowledgeable in this area and constitute a committee and have them come up with maybe governance now, regulations around this thing, and cyber security, the different types of risks that we might have, data security and all of that. So those are the things that we can also bring about. Your question on employee engagement now. I was reading a book by a management consultant, 10 team building gigs or something like that. And everything is virtual. He said it that long time ago, there used to be trainings, physical and all that. So when you want to do team bonding, team building games, you have to think of physical things to do, right? Because how again can you do team bonding virtually? Well, now it's been done. You can have team bonding games virtually, and you are bonding. You are not seeing yourselves physically. Yes. There's, permit me to deviate a bit. Is it X Factor or AGT? After COVID, there was a group that came together for the first time on stage. They started that group online. They had never met until that day they came for that competition. They rehearsed, sang, went through different stages online. They met themselves the first time on that stage. Now that's where technology has taken us to. That you can be speaking, meeting, interacting with people, and never having met them. Today, I'm part of different committees, organizations, communities, young coaches community, for example, where there are certain people I interact with. There are certain things I post that I've really never met them. Some are not even in Nigeria. But we have teams, we have games, we have things that, so these engagements are important for us to have when we look at AI, when we look at Internet of Things, for example. We need to be able to come up with, like the book I said I read by Xavier. If in that book he detailed out about 10 games that you can have virtually with your team. So that's important for us to also acknowledge. So you say AI tools can help with that. Yes.
You also mentioned this training notion. Yesterday, in a session, I had people say, "Well, yeah, we love this face-to-face and online, but there's a time when I actually went to do this training in London." so companies, do not forget that I want to go to the US for a week because that's what I would get the specialized training in that particular area. So there's still a demand for people saying, well, it doesn't mean when it's virtual, then I shouldn't be able to get there. But companies have to look at this from a cost perspective, right, and see whether it works for them or not. I mean, I'm not, let's not go there. Let me ask the hybrid work. How are we doing in terms of working hybrid in the sector? What is your experience? Are people still at home after, or have you all brought them back because you don't trust them? How is hybrid work working? And if there are any questions, please on the floor. I'll take a minute now to turn this way and take questions. Hybrid work.
All right. So of course, COVID taught us that so many things can be done without working physically from the office. And I think for me, the most important thing is productivity, and where the organization is able to provide that platform where employees can connect, irrespective of their location. So most times, of course, when COVID threw us into that condition, most organizations were not ready. People had to start thinking of putting certain applications in the cloud, because there are some applications that you have to just come physically to the office and connect to the local network and things like that. So with respect to hybrid, there are of course challenges with, I think maybe because it was COVID, a lot of people were forced, you just had to, do it. And COVID ended, we came out of COVID, and, quite a number of organizations still working from home. And in fact, in our own experience, I think first of all, people wanted, that interaction, just like we're talking about physical training program. It still has its own place. There are certain training programs that would require physical engagement. You want, especially at, sometimes at very senior level. There's also, it's not just the training, the content that the facilitator gives, is what the people,
the human engagement,
exactly, the connection and all that. So I think it's the same thing with work. So for quite a number of teams, work, and of course, this is not saying that we shouldn't hybrid, you can do a hybrid and all that, but most times you find out that that's human interaction, that connection is still there. So ours is flexible. You can work, there's a policy that allows you work, from home and all that, but most people are back to work. The policy is still there, especially moving and all that. A lot of people, we are all back to work.
But is it because we don't trust them, or is it because they're more efficient in the office, or is it because we've not seen the level of productivity that we want when they are there? Because we know the cost of transport, the cost of, the challenges of people having to,
even sometimes the cost of the organization as well. But I feel that, so two things. One is, so you mentioned one, which is the from the point of view of the employees, just to ensure that people are able to be productive. If I'm a line manager and I find out that, a team member probably is not reachable or is not delivering as much as they can, and of course the policy provides that you can call the person back. So all those things are provided in the policy to say that this has to be reviewed over time. So there's no 100% go and work from home, this number of days. So those things need to be checked. That's why I said it from the beginning. The most important thing is productivity. Whichever way the person is not productive physically or productive, we need to address it.
So we set targets. We have clear outcomes. What we expect of you this week, and you go home and you work as long as you deliver that. It doesn't matter whether you're at the market at 9 o'clock or you are driving a car at 11. But these are the clear targets and these are the timelines, and you deliver. Is the sector happy very much with that?
So maybe not exactly the way you said it. You said you have to be here at this time and things like that. It's the fact that we all have our goals, we all have our deliverables, things that you probably need to turn in specific days and all that. You need to be in meetings, you need to respond at certain time. Those things will be clear when the person is not meeting it. It will be very clear to the person and to the line manager. Right. So it has to be addressed. But at the same time, we shouldn't, because this is the future of things. I know globally quite a number of organizations, starting with Tesla and what's his name now?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, yeah, called everybody back immediately. So most tech organizations, the same thing. So I think as human capital or people and culture, as a leadership, you can't shy away from reality. The fact that you want to be future ready, you want to be digital, don't mean that you cannot address certain things. Just like I said about, nice, skip my mind.
Okay.
You have to be able to take certain decisions. Okay, I said about certain apps or innovation that, for the sake that we want to also be innovative, there are certain things that really customers are not meeting customers' needs. So it's about providing that solution at the end of the day. Is it meeting the needs, the objective? If it's not,
yeah,
we can pull the plug.
Okay, I'm happy if we meet the needs.
Because at Little Pension, we still observe their hybrid work. So we do 3 days in office and 2 days off.
Okay.
So for each department, you plan it. I, for one, Monday, I and all my team members must be at work because the first day of the week. Then we plan it in a way as well that we have nothing less than 2 people available each day. So we have a schedule.
Okay.
Then it's business as usual, even when you're working from. In fact, it's more stressful for me when I work from home because there are no distractions. So other times somebody might walk into your office, you might stand up, walk to someone to have a discussion, your phone might ring and all that. But then even if your phone would ring, it's a Teams call. And you get called into meetings, you still have all your interaction. So for us, even if you work from home, it's still business as usual. It's a simply in the office. That's the way it works with us.
Okay.
Then what we do is we have 1 day work from office for all staff. Okay. So that's why we usually put maybe a village meeting, TGI. Like today we had a virtual game. Yeah, so when we were saying it, we use Kahoot. Fantastic. So we have teams based on our core values. So they come up with team members, about 8 people that would be the competitors across Nigeria from different states, regions. Everyone participated in the game, and wonderful. It works well. We do it twice yearly, and it's a virtual game using the Kahoot platform. That's AI, if you can say.
Right.
So it works well. So, but then, yeah, the trust is there. You deliver, but the sales team don't get to work from home because they are expected to meet with clients. But every other backend, they have their timetable, the schedule on how they come to the office to work 3 times a week. But there are times when work exigencies, nobody needs to tell you that you have to be at work Monday to Friday. That also happens. You can't have something to do that you need to be physically present and you would say, oh, I've not observed my work from office. No, it doesn't happen. So everybody has imbibed that. It's now a culture, it's part of everyone. When you need to be available physically, you're there. And if you don't have anything, you observe and work from home.
Well, I'm happy. Well, I guess also that answer comes because you guys are established corporates. One of the sessions we had this week, one of the CEOs of a manufacturing firm said, I don't pay you to be in the car during when I said work from home and I give you the space. When I call you and I need something, you can't tell me you're driving. You said you're working from home. so he pays his salary and he says, this is my understanding. But you also, you gave insight into it and saying there's a policy element to it. This has been built into policy. And I'm happy that, corporations are doing exactly that. That these developments that we have with AI are now, we build policies around them and we are able to guide employees around how to make them work. We create a culture. And I mean, we've also answered another question about teams, that if you're able to do virtual games, then we still can work as virtual teams. So we're not taking away that core element of working in teams in organizations. So AI has enhanced some of those things that we used to do, and we used to specialize in HR and organizational development. We just now do them much more efficiently or differently, let me say. Okay, colleagues in the room, here's an opportunity for you to engage with this panel. I know I dominated them. Can we have, here's the mic. Anyone who wants to ask a question, wants to engage. You can tell me if there's one online. Okay, please come through the side if there's a question online. Guys, you cannot be beat by people online. You're in the room.
So someone said that's Dyer from Facebook. Did COVID redefine the HR operations in the pension industry, or nothing changed? Did COVID redefine the HR operations in the pension industry, or nothing changed?
Is it one? Okay, is there another one? Okay, anyone wants to take that? Partly answered, but I'm sure you can amplify it. Yes.
Thank you. So what I want to know is, the person asked, yes, that with COVID, did COVID redefine the HR operation? Or nothing changed? Different companies were probably in their own different journeys when it comes to digitalization of their own processes. But I do believe that despite the fact that we're all at different phases, it did have an impact, because people were at home for probably close to a year. And what you had was, even though when you now had to put in place hybrid, or let's just say people were working virtually, working from home, the HR function itself still needed to operate and provide all the required support. People were at home, HR still needed to pay people. People were at home, people's HR still needed to ensure that people were trained to be able to do work. People were home, HR still needed to play its business partnering role to support them. So what happened was that I think the different organizations looked at their processes and looked for ways to make it, work with the situation that they had in place. So I do believe that the operations definitely changed. Now, with companies now gradually coming back to work, and some companies insisting that everybody, resume, I don't think that the process is going to go back exactly that same way. I'm not in support that. I think the after COVID, I think a lot of things have changed. It's now a market for the candidate, not necessarily the employer. And what I've realized with a lot of the millennials now, and I think from the question that was asked earlier, employer engagement is very, very important. And if you do not have employees that feel engaged at work, they will leave. And that was why we were talking about the concept of the great resignation. People were leaving, not necessarily because they just didn't feel engaged. They wanted an environment that worked for them, not the other way around. So, and that also became a challenge, because for HR, if you had to get people who are very particular about, they're very conscious about, certain things, they want to enjoy the work they do, and so on and so forth. You had to approach it in a different way. You constantly have to ask yourself the question around what kind of experience are people having in the workplace, and how are we, using the technology available to drive that level of experience to ensure that there's higher engagement, and that higher engagement will have an eventual impact in terms of helping the organization, achieve its goals.
Okay, thank you very much. Second one.
So this is James from YouTube. Can AI reduce the need ever for sourcing with its growing improvement? Can AI reduce the need ever for sourcing with its growing improvement? Yeah. Yes. Okay, can AI reduce the need ever for sourcing with its growing improvement?
Maybe I think I'm trying to understand. Maybe I think it sort of links with the way the technology is gradually expanding. Is there a likelihood that in the future the work that people are supposed to be doing will now be done by AI?
Yeah,
and I think that's what probably what he's trying to say about that. No, I don't think that the work of people will be eliminated. What I think is that work will be redefined with AI. It will change. Yeah. And you're already seeing it now, already in the workplace. I mean, for a lot of people who use tools like Microsoft. There's an AI called, Copilot. And what it means is that, even when you want to send out emails and these things can read through it and help you correct, the way you phrased it, or even probably help, with your spelling errors and so many things. And what you even have is for HR professionals who have a lot of, one of the most odious tasks you can ever have in HR is when you are trying to create job descriptions and all that. I mean, what you're seeing now is with just some little bit of information, these things are creating a lot of stuff for you. And what it means is that you're spending less time on certain kind of task, and so it's refining it, it's changing it. So I think the key now is for you as a professional, whether you're in HR or any other place, you have to have some level of digital skills. It's now becoming a prerequisite. If you want to, I mean, there are times when companies used to say, well, you have to be able to use Microsoft Office as one of the skills. Now, digital skills are key, because what a company is, there's a lot of data out there. Data is coming up. HR people need to be able to make decisions on whether a candidate is ideal for promotion. What information are you going to use to make those decisions? The data is there. The data tells you the past performance. The data tells you the potential of the employee. The data tells you their promotion velocity. So you have to be able to take all those things together and make very informed decisions. And that is why it's very key that we really have to build our skills in this area.
Okay, thank you. I think data also tells us about absenteeism.
I think to what Emeka said, data will tell us, but data is what you put in there.
Yeah.
So we need to also be mindful of that. So it's one thing that data will do all the analysis for us, but also the information we put into that data, we still need someone, and there might be some keywords, there might be some prompts. So those are also part of the things we need to learn to know. I look at the system, I call it garbage in, garbage out. If you put garbage in it, that's the analysis you get. You won't be able to do anything tangible with it because it won't be the true data. So that's also why we also need to learn digital skills.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's do this. We'll take this sort of final closing comments. I noticed that I've taken on 10 minutes beyond my time, and apologies for that. But make your point and do closing remarks as we go along. And thank you. I hope, guys, I haven't denied anyone of you an opportunity to ask a question. Okay, there's one there. All right. There's a question there, and then you can answer, give closing remarks.
Okay, a quick question. Bearing in mind that the pension industrial sector holds a lot of funds, which is very key to people's lives, how is the industry applying technology or AI to protect those funds? And then, is there a way you're also using AI in the area of HR to ensure that you bring in credible people who are not a threat to those funds?
You're not bringing crooks. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I think before I answer that question, I just wanted to throw something out there based on something you had said about Nigeria, who's got about 30 years experience, and he hasn't been getting, called for interviews and all of that. And to say, is there a possibility that because of reliance on this tool, we might miss out on some of those things? Because headhunting is still going to always be headhunting. There are some people, whether it's you meet them, you know them, or someone that knows them because you know the fit and all of that. So you could put something in the ATS and it throws out candidates, but you just get the sense that this is not the kind of person I need. It's not the fit, culture fit. Even though, because people can game the system because they know what these things are. There are people that will help you get your CV and put those keywords that will throw up. But when you see them, you're like, this person doesn't match. There was one interview we did, and this lady, she had done her presentation, and one of the people on the interview panel said, she's not the one that did this presentation, So I guess there's always that human element. And I think that's my closing remarks with AI and digital. There's the human element, and one of the speakers spoke about, the ability to think, getting leaders, getting managers to be able to think out of the box, innovation. So even with these tools, there's still that human element which you can't buy. AI will not be courageous, be bold. It will not, tell you to go into new markets. It'll just give you past history. But there's still that human element, which I think, is very key about building leaders. And I think HR, human capital, human resources, is about the human capital, focusing on the individual. So those will be my closing remarks. But just to talk about your question about whether how we use AI to protect the funds or technology in general. I think for investment of those funds, whether it's with the funds are with the pension fund custodians, and the pension fund custodians are subsidiaries of the largest banks in Nigeria. There's a lot of technology around, ensuring that the funds are safe, or the funds are unitized, and that the funds are transparent. So every day there's always daily unitizing of the prices, so everyone knows what's in their account. So I think industry to a large extent has mastered that set of technology because again, the subsidiaries of the largest banks in Nigeria, the owners of the PFCs, and that to an extent helps. Even within the pension space, investing, whether you want to invest in stocks or invest in bonds, some tools can tell you just in terms of, this is the historical data. If you invest now, you lose money. So there's that bit that is happening. So I guess, again, with pensions, people are a bit touchy, but rest assured that those funds are safe and will continue to work to ensure that it's safe. So I hope that answers your question and puts you at rest.
Exactly. So it's not just on the fifth level. And as I said, in PFEs especially, they don't have access to the funds. We can't have direct access to the funds. So I think the way they've crafted the entire thing to ensure that these funds are safe. So yes, you might have, but don't, it's not like they from bank. You can't plug in anything and anything would happen to your money. As long as it's from the PFE, we are only administrators, we are not custodians. So on the PFE angle, your money is safe. And I'm sure the custodian, based on what has been said to by Ruche, it's safe. So in closing, I would just advise us that we need to be aware, because it's only when you're not aware, that's when things would happen around you. And before you realize what is happening, the train has passed. So whatever it is, even if you don't use it, this is not the time to believe in. We keep talking about 5G. That's one of the things that would happen in the future. And some of us from the spiritual angle are saying it's devilish. Before you realize it, the world is gone and you're left behind. Those are the people that will lose their jobs. Those are the people that will become irrelevant. We need to embrace AI and use it to the best of our advantage. It's there to make life easy for us. And if you don't have the understanding, you lose out and you become obsolete. Thank you.
Thank you. Just also a bit, even in the investing of the funds with the PFCs, the regulators also have regulations around it. What percentage is invested in what and that and that. So across the different funds, and there is a reason why they have that. To address the fears that people would have. So the regulators have also looked at that. But for me, my own closing remark would be that no matter what the technology will do for us, the human element is still very, very important. Very, very important. You can't overlook that. The technology, AI, whatever it is, will just present the data for analysis to you, and you would have to be the one to use it the way you want. There's the descriptive analysis, there's the predictive analysis, there's the diagnostic analysis. You would have to be the one to interpret this data and say, okay, this is what this data is saying now, and what happened, what will happen, why did it happen. Those are the different stages of analysis that we can do from just that data that the technology will give us. So which means that no matter what we put in into that technology to give us an information, our inability to cognitively access that would not lead us anywhere. If we are not able to harness that data and make an informed decision, it's not necessarily what the data gives, but the interpretation I give. And that's what makes the difference in whatever process that I'm involved in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think for me is to say that we should always think about the solution. It's always about providing a solution. So it's not so much around AI or the technology. So of course, you can't start chasing technology to say, please, what technology do we use to? It's really about how do we help the customer? How do we solve this problem for the employee? So let me give an example. And sometimes it's not really something that does not exist. Could be something that's even borrowed from another industry, something that exists that can be enhanced. So you go for a date and you order your meal, and the waiter tells you it will take 30 minutes. So you are waiting. You are not sure if maybe you ordered for what? Let me not call something that's you don't even know, are they boiling the water? Have they put the rice on fire? What are they doing with the protein? You are blind. You don't have any clue the process that food is going. But look at the experience of some Japanese restaurants. In fact, not just Japanese, now some restaurants you can see from the beginning how they are preparing your food and up to the point where it gets to you. It's the same thing when in some of these places where you order pizza. Once you order, your name is on the board. It says that's gone through this. So look at the different experience. So bring that into the pension industry. You submit an application to get 25%. Immediately you leave the place, it says your application has been received. This part of the application has been done. Once it gets to the next step, you receive a message again. Same way you get those messages from the VFS. It says you've submitted, it's gone to this. So it's a different experience. It's an innovation. There's no maybe AI or technology, but it's a solution that provides the customer some comfort, some experience that is different from just sitting there and just wondering. You'll be asking them, how long will it take? Even if they told you 3 weeks, you want to see what is happening until the final day of the 3 weeks. So it's that type of experience. That's what the digital transformation for me is about, is a solution.
So the customer care experience, AI has enhanced it. Right? Beautiful.
Well, I think in closing, I believe that the technology itself is really going to be very helpful for the industry. I think for us in the human resource space, I think there's that understanding that we have to upskill ourselves to be able to use this technology efficiently, efficiently, and also look at how we can employ it in trying to improve the employee experience in the workplace. I think that's, for me, it's really key, and I think that's where the challenging part will be going into the future, for us, because it's also technology that is not cheap. So what it means is that we also have to look for ways where we can also build some level of local content and partner with maybe local developers or designers that can help us also build or even personalize some of the applications that already exist within our businesses, and just to help us take it a notch higher. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think let me take this opportunity to thank every single one of you. That's been truly insightful. We just reminded that there's an institution ourselves. When COVID hit, we're probably in South Africa one of the very few institutions that were already online. And all our students graduated. When government was all over the place trying to deliver tablets to your public universities, and people asking for data. We're in this rural area, there's no tower, and people did not graduate for that year. But because we anticipated the transition, we were already online and all our students graduated. We never experienced the difficulty of this transition. But it didn't come is because there needed to be a change management. There's a pain process that we went through. And we needed to get even our facilitators to be aware, because as you know, once we went into COVID, people did meetings in their pajamas, right? So there's a whole range of things that we needed to do to get it right. But thank you for spending your time and this evening with us. I want to hand over to my boss, Vivian, to do the pleasantries from myself. Thank you very much for an engaging session. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Good.
Thank you, everyone. It was quite an engaging session. On behalf of Regenesys Business School, we want to say thank you to all the guests who have made out time out of their busy schedule to be here today. Those of us here and those of us online, thank you. And to our esteemed panel of speakers, you guys are amazing. I learned so many things today, and we want to appreciate you. Thank you very much. You've made our time out of your busy schedule to be here today with us. And we're looking forward to future opportunities here while you get to be here with us again. And on behalf of Regenesys, we'll have a little token for you. To Mr. Oguche, did I get that correctly? Oguche, thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you. To Mrs. Onime, who has been a wonderful friend and sister, thank you for coming, even despite your busy schedule. And to Kennedy, who on short notice as well, thank you for coming. We appreciate you. Thank you, Godwin. I've known Godwin forever, since I would say 2015, right, Godwin? Even further than that, you see. And we're looking forward to doing business with you, whether you like it or not. Thank you. And last but not the least, Mr. Dibia as well. I've known him forever. And we're looking forward to doing many businesses with you. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We've got light refreshments, so please help yourself before you go and let's network. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you. We want to take group picture, please, with this, with the host. Can you just spend like 2 minutes? He's gone to the bathroom.